Hey, what is going on, guys? This is DK. Back at you with another video here to break down the 5-game NBA main slate on Sunday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily content for daily fantasy sports, NFL, NBA slates. Also make videos for NBA Top Shot, NFL All Day, and for Prize Picks, which is a player prop site. Premium content, I do offer that on patreon.com. NBA and NFL package, very in-depth content. If you want more information, it's down below. If you're unable to watch these videos, I do upload on Apple Podcasts. It's called the DK DFS Show. And the sponsor of this video, guys, is Roast Umber, coffee company located in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They're a small company, and we've been brainstorming some ideas. We've been thinking about doing a giveaway. So let me know what you guys would think about, possibly sponsoring, one or two people in like $100 tournament. We've been floating around the idea of maybe doing some Top Shot giveaways as well, maybe even a month of Patreon. So let me know in the comment section down below if that's something that you would be interested in. Again, the Roast Umber guys are they're big, so we've been brainstorming ideas, but let me know your thoughts on that. But yeah, if you guys want to try it out, Roast Umber, you can use my discount code DKDFS for 20% off your order. Again, my personal favorite is the Nitro Cold Brew if you guys are into the cold brews. Okay, so let's get into this 5-game slate. The slate tonight. So I stacked the Thunder, which worked out really, really well. And I was talking about this in Discord. It's like, I never thought I would say I'm going to stack the Thunder, and it worked. But unfortunately, I had the Wizards. I had two members of the Wizards, Kuzma and Dinwiddie. They had like 40 points through 3 quarters. I mean, basically every single game was a blowout tonight, outside of the game that I had zero exposure to, which was the Knicks and the Lakers, and that went to overtime. So just like, okay, whatever, like just chalking this one up an L and moving on. But yeah, guys, let's talk about the 5-game or so. Indiana and Cleveland is the first game here, and a lot of question marks for the Pacers. With Sabonis possibly coming back, Brogdon questionable, and Goga questionable. So if all those guys are out again, then we can look to LeVert, who I finally faded last game after playing him for I played him here. I think I played him here too. I think it was here, which was fine. Finally faded, 60 bomb. Unbelievable. Again, that's just how DFS goes for me. But if all those guys are out, you can look to LeVert. Now, it's not a good matchup at all, but again, he is a guy that does have this type of upside, right? He can go get you 50 plus. Now, if Goga Bitadze is out, we're most likely going to get Terry Taylor starting, who played 38 minutes. So if he starts again, I'm going to like him. Big front court here, so I would assume he would have to play all the minutes he can handle. So Terry Taylor would be a good play still, even at the price point if Goga and Sabonis are out. Now, if Goga and Sabonis are in, then I'm probably not going to pay $5.5K for Taylor, right? And then we have to keep eyeing the news to see if there's any limitations for any of these guys. So pretty hard team to break down as it stands right now. As far as the secondary plays go, like Duarte's 5K, he's kind of been taking a backseat to LeVert. Holiday, Craig, those guys will see minutes, but they're low usage. So nothing super exciting here on the Pacers side. And again, we will monitor the news with those 3 questionable players. On the Cleveland sides, we have the status of Darius Garland up in the air. He is questionable. If he cannot go, then we're going to see Brandon Goodwin start and become a fine option in the mid-range. He's not going to be as good of a value as he's been the last couple of slates, but he would still be viable. He's played 32 and 36 minutes over the last couple of games. If Garland plays and there's no limitations, I actually think he's a pretty good play at 8.8. Would play, 35 to 38 minutes, good matchup, and do all the ball handling. So I'm going to like Garland if he plays. As far as the bigs go, Allen had the massive game. He had a 20-20 game in 3 quarters, finished with 29 and 22. Now, that was definitely an outlier performance. And a majority of the season, we've been seeing Jarrett Allen hover in like the 30 to 35 fantasy point range. So I think him and Mobley, more secondary options for me. Now, Kevin Love, again, his minutes have been kind of up and down recently. 19, 33, then 29 and 26. But when they are there, like when he gets close to 30 minutes, he has a lot of upside. He's a really good point per minute guy. So I do like Kevin Love for tournaments. Probably don't get to him in a cash game setting, though. And then we saw the Mets go way down on a guy like Chetty. Okoro's a low-usage guy that should play around 30 minutes. Again, he's fine. He'll probably get you like 15 to 20 fantasy points Rondo will play the backup point if there's no Garland and probably play, 15 to 18 minutes. As a contrarian value, I guess it's fine. But yeah, that is it for the Cavs. Moving on to Atlanta and Dallas. So we have a couple question marks here for Atlanta. John Collins, we have Gallinari, we have Lou Williams. Gallinari and Lou Williams did miss the game last time. So Trae Young, 10-1. I think he's a pretty solid GBP play. We know Trae, can hurt you. He can go for like 30 feints once if he struggles from the field, but he does have that ceiling, right? We've seen 60, 53, and 50 feints once him over the last 3 games. So I kind of like Trae there for tournaments. Now, Collins, if he plays, is just more of a neutral play. The minutes have been ticking up a little bit for him recently, which is good to see. Finally, right? We saw 31, 34 minutes. So if he plays, I think he's a decent GBP play. If him and Gallinari both miss, then like this grouping of like Bogdanovic, Hunter, Herter should get more run, and they're going to all look a little bit better. The center position, Capella's minutes have been trending down. We've been seeing him split time with Okongwu, and then even they can go small ball with John Collins in the 5, so they don't even split the full 48 minutes. So a little bit hard to get to either of those centers. And that's probably it for Atlanta. Obviously, keep Ryan stats, Lou Williams, and Gallinari. Like if Collins is out and Gallinari's in, I think Gallinari's become a pretty good value play. Again, he missed the game last game. So let's move on to Dallas. And Luka Doncic at 12K. I mean, he's finally turning that corner, right? I played him so many times at the beginning of the season. He was just like a letdown every time. But now they're just playing him like 40 minutes a game. And he's just doing everything for the team. And this is a good match against the Hawks. So I think Luka looks really good at the top if you can afford him. Again, right now he's just playing huge minutes. Brunson, 6'5", probably sees, 35 plus minutes. I think he's a fair play in the mid-range. Keep an eye on Maxi Kleber news. That could open up some value here. So last game we saw Bullock start and play 36 minutes. He had already been playing some pretty solid minutes. Now the only issue with Bullock is peripheral stats usually aren't there. So if he struggles from the field, he can hurt you. But if he picks up the start, then I think he's going to be a playable value. Dorian Finney-Smith is a low-usage guy, but he's going to play huge minutes. But again, does not really stand out there. Now Maxi Kleber, if he plays, I like him, right? Because I think we probably get around 30 minutes from him. The only downside is he's only center eligible. But I like Kleber if he plays. If he misses, I think Dwight Powell's the guy that gets the biggest bump. He played 34 minutes last game. So Powell's going to look good. He'll get some backup 5 run from Marquise Chris, who picked up like 5 fouls in 10 minutes last game. But we know if he can stay out of foul trouble, he's a pretty good point per minute guy. Probably don't get to a guy like Ntilikina. Josh Green at the Flatman price. And I think you can probably do better. So let's move on to Boston and Orlando. So basically a fully healthy Boston team. Tatum, Brown, good matchup. I think both are in play. Tatum feels a little bit overpriced at 10-6. Brown a little bit easier to get to at 9-2. But I don't think either are going to be priorities for me. Rob Williams, 7-5. I'm going to like the matchup, but the price point, just feels about right. Smart at 5-5, probably your safest bet. I think in a competitive game, we see low 30s minutes. So he probably looks like the safest play on Boston. Horford's minutes have kind of been all over the place. I think he's a fair play in the mid-range, assuming we get 25 to 30 minutes. Josh Richardson off the bench at 3.9, I think is viable, low 20s minutes in a good matchup. But I don't know if there's one like standout play for Boston, but it's a good matchup. So I think the main guys look solid. On the Orlando side, so we saw them get blown out of the water by Memphis in the early game today. At the top, we have Cole Anthony, 7-1. Usage has been there for him. Production's been a little bit up and down. But I think he's a viable GBP play. 44, 36, and 36 feints points over the last 3 games. Carter Jr. 6'9", should get low 30s minutes. I think he is a little bit easier to get to than Cole Anthony. So the main 2 guys there for Orlando I think look decent. Jalen Suggs at 5'9". Minutes, we should get around 30 from him. I think he's a relatively safe play in the mid-range. And him and Cole Anthony are kind of switching off, handling the ball. So again, I think a relatively safe play. Franz Wagner, kind of the same thing, around 30 minutes, probably not going to kill you. But does he have like that massive upside when Carter and Cole and Suggs are all playing? I don't know if he can really break the slate. So a couple guys I'm kind of just fine with in Suggs and Wagner. The minutes have been down on Bamba, so don't know if I go there. Gary Harris, Chumo Kiki, low usage guys that will be in the rotation but don't really stand out. Terrence Ross's minutes have been way down. That's probably it for the Magic. Moving on to the Pelicans and the Rockets. So this is a game that looks pretty appealing here. Now, we got to keep an eye on the status of Josh Hart. He's currently questionable. We do have Temple, Akira Lewis, Hernan Gomez, and obviously Zion out. So at the top, Brandon Ingram, 8-7. Again, I really like the matchup for him. Should play 35-plus minutes. I think he makes for a pretty good spend up. Does have that shooting guard, small forward eligibility. Jonas Valanciunas at 8.3K. Playing around 30 to 32 minutes. I think he's a fair play. I do like the spot for him, right? I do like targeting players against Houston. But we've been seeing him and Jackson Hayes start alongside each other. So like if Josh Hart's out and Jackson Hayes starts again, then I think he's certainly in play, right? We've been seeing him play the 4 and actually been playing pretty well. So keep an eye on the starting lineup and keep an eye on Josh Hart plays, right? Because if Josh Hart misses, it's most likely going to be Graham, Herbert Jones, Ingram, Hayes, and Jalen Valanciunas, right? They've been running a pretty big starting lineup. Herb Jones himself had a really big game in the fourth quarter, shot 8 of 10. But obviously he's going to take a little bit of a backseat to the likes of like JV and of Ingram. Devontae Graham at 5'3" has been struggling a bit of late, but the minutes have been consistent at around 30, so I think he's a fine contrarian play. And then NAW, my boy at 4'7", minutes been ticking down on him a bit around 20, so don't love the price point there. Don't think I get to anyone else. I mean, Alvarado's had a couple solid games on the bench, but I don't know if he's playing enough minutes for me to get to him. And moving on to the Houston side. So Christian Wood, 8.5K. Like the spot for him in a competitive game. We've been seeing about 35 minutes. So kind of like Christian Wood here. And then I like KPJ, who only played the first half, was dealing with an illness, but it looks like he's good to go. And I think in a competitive game, we see, 32 to 34 minutes, somewhere in that range. A guy can kind of stuff the stat sheet. So besides the last game where he only played a first half or like a first quarter, 30, 36, 34, and 38 fantasy points. I think KPJ looks pretty good. And then the secondary options here. So Jayshawn Tate, 4'9", hovering in the 25 to 30 minute range, which I think makes him a fair value play, but doesn't stand out. Jalen Green at 4'6". The last game was a blowout, but previous 4 games he had cracked 30 plus minutes. So if we're going to get 30 plus minutes from Jalen Green at only 4'6", I think he's in play for tournaments. It's just, he's kind of scoring dependent. We saw a big game from Josh Christopher off the bench, but again, that was kind of the blowout. So it feels like a chase if you go to Christopher. Now, what I do want to mention here is we've been seeing a lot more Sengun and Christian Wood together. And I know the last game was a blowout, but he was still playing a decent amount alongside Wood. So we know Sengun's a good point per minute guy. And the Pelicans have been running a big lineup, right, with like 2 centers out there. So I actually think Sengun's in play here, right? Minutes-wise, I'm not sure. But if we get, somewhere in that like 25-minute range for Sengun and only 4-1, I think that's going to make him look pretty good here. So I'm intrigued by Sengun based on recent rotations where we've been seeing him play alongside Christian Wood. The minutes on Eric Gordon have been going down, but like he can pop off anytime. He just has to hit his shots. KJ Martin at 3.8K, minutes for him in a competitive game, I think we get around 20, which, I'm fine with. He's been playing pretty well, 30, 24, 20, 14, 15 fantasy points over the last 4 games. Garrison Matthews, we saw him start the second half, but he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. He does have a ceiling, though, but he can hit a shot. So a lot of the main guys, I think, are in play here for Houston. And let's finish it up with Milwaukee and the Clippers. So we saw Milwaukee just absolutely destroy Portland. Again, this is the blowout slate tonight. But Giannis ended up coming out 12-2. If you think the Clippers can keep the game competitive, he's going to play 35-plus minutes, and he's going to look really good at the top. The secondary options like Middleton, Drew Holiday, more indifferent on. And we saw a big game from Bobby Portis. And I like the spot from once again. So I think Bobby Portis in the mid-range looks pretty decent. As far as value goes, Grayson Allen should play in a competitive game 25 to 30 minutes. The only downside is he's scoring dependent. DiVincenzo, Connaughton, like 20 to 25 minutes. They're playable, but they're not going to be very high usage players. And finally, the Clippers, a little bit tricky to break down right now. So they have Powell and Covington listed as out, but there's a chance they play in this game. So we'll keep an eye on that news. But we finally saw more minutes for the starters here. Marcus Morris and Reggie Jackson played huge minutes last game. We saw 36 from Marcus Morris and 33 from Reggie Jackson. So that's kind of what we were seeing at the beginning of the year. They finally went back to big minutes for, in my opinion, right now, their 2 best offensive players. So I have interest in Morris and Jackson. I think if Powell and Covington don't play, they're going to look better. And it was a positive that we finally saw the minutes increase for them. Now, do we see 35 minutes again from both of them? I'm not sure, but at least we know that it's in the realm of possibilities. And then Amir Coffey, 4'8". The minutes have been relatively consistent for him, but he only played 24 last game, and he has had a couple ceiling games. So, I don't know what to do with Amir Coffey. Ivica Zubac is questionable. If he misses, you're going to get Ibaka and Hartenstein kind of getting that 5 run. We've seen some big games from Serge Ibaka in 22 and then 34 minutes last game. And then again, Hartenstein is 3.3K. He's a good point per minute, guys, and playing around 15 minutes. Those two are going to be in play. Obviously, Ibaka, you're going to feel better about if he starts. And then the value, it kind of depends on if Covington and Powell play. So if they're both out, I think you can feel a little bit, I think you're going to feel better about the likes of like Batum, Kennard, Terrence Mann, right? We would probably see, 25-ish from Batum minutes-wise. Kennard's minutes should tick up. Mann's minutes should tick up. So, Clippers, it kind of depends on whether or not Covington and Powell play for, how much I'm going to like them. And I think that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. So if you've been enjoying the content, again, just make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Putting out a lot of content, guys. Again, Prize Picks, DFS, NBA Top Shot. So I hope you guys enjoy everything that I'm putting out there on YouTube and live streaming as well. But thanks again, guys. Have a great night, and I will see you in the next video.